I'm Ken Stickney. I'm the Republican candidate for House District 10 in Boulder County, and that district is Central Boulder. And there's a lot of commercial activity in my district. There's lots and lots of restaurants within my district, and they're all hurting because of the lockdowns that we have going on right now within my district, based on the policies coming out of the Boulder County Department of Health. And we have a special guest here today to tell us what's going on in the rest of the state and how he's involved in attempting to get businesses open by going up against the public health departments and basically getting our economy going again. Our guest speaker is former mayor of Parker and also ran as a candidate in the 2018 Republican primary, and he is Greg Lopez, and we're excited and happy that he's here to talk to us.
Thank you, Ken. Well, thank you so much. You know, it's a pleasure to be here with you tonight here in Longmont. I mean, I can't tell you how devastated I am in seeing what's going on to small business here in the state of Colorado. I think it's important for those of you that may or may not know, more about me, about why it is that I truly understand what's going on with small business and why it's something that I think is what the governor is doing is wrong. What the mayors are doing is wrong. They're just destroying the American dream, for Coloradans. And when you think about it, we all know a small business owner in some capacity or another. And before this COVID thing, I would tell you that throughout the course of your day, you would touch anywhere from 5 to 7 business owners, small business owners, every single day. And you probably didn't even know it. You didn't even stop to think about it. Okay. If you went to a McDonald's, that's a franchise. That's a small business owner. If you went to the dry cleaners, that's a small business owner. If you went to get a salon or a haircut, those are all small business owners. And so I am the former director of the United States Small Business Administration here in Colorado. So for over 7 years, I was the voice and face of small business for the entire state. And so I can tell you that there are over 961,000 small business owners in the state of Colorado. They employ over 1.1 million people, and they are the life and blood of most communities throughout the state. Corporate America is not what makes Colorado great. It's what small business is all about. Okay, and so when they did this shutdown, I'm going to tell you, they shut down over 300,000 small business owners overnight. They impacted over 500,000 families overnight. And I'm going to tell you that 30% of those businesses, 90,000, will never open again. They're gone. Okay? And the reason they're gone is because most small businesses do not have a lot of reserves, cash, to be able to start up again. A lot of people don't understand that a small business owner works on very small margins as it pertains to their profit. Okay? A lot of people will tell you, I'm a small business owner. Okay? So I know exactly what I'm talking about. I used to, until January of this year, and there are days that I wish perhaps I hadn't sold it, but the Lord works in mysterious ways. But I used to have a restaurant bar, and I put it on the market last March when I decided that I was going to run for governor again. And we closed on it January 10th of this year. Okay. However, I had it for over 5 years, and I know the margins of a small business owner. It's anywhere between 6 to 11%. So what that means is that for every $100 you're making in sales, you potentially have $6 in profit. Okay. Maybe up to 11. So it's not about the success of small business. It's not about having your doors open. It's about customer counts. It's about how many people come into your restaurant, come into your barbershop, come into your salon to utilize your services. It's not the fact that the door is open. If being successful in small business was just you have an unlocked door, everybody would be successful, right? So you have to create a brand, you have to create followings. And the thing that I think that bothers me the most about this is that being a former mayor, I also know that cities and counties have to have sales tax because that's the only way that they're able to provide snow removal, street repair, maintenance in the parks, police protection, all the services that people want get paid through sales tax. It's not property tax, okay? They get a little bit from property taxes, but the sales tax is really what generates the revenue to provide these services. So when you shut down the cash flow of small business, you're shutting down the cash flow of municipalities, right? And you're also shutting down the cash flow of the state. And this never, ever should have happened, okay? The numbers do not justify the shutdown of small businesses. The numbers do not justify shutting down the entire state. There are still counties today, out of the 64 counties, that never had a case or had no more than 5. And these were not people that were in the hospital. These are just people that tested positive to the COVID. Yet the entire state is shut down because of what's happening in the urban corridor. And that is just wrong. Plain wrong. You know, and what I believe needs to happen is small businesses need to open now with not any restrictions, without any barriers, because I believe people know what's in the best interest of their own livelihoods, okay? And here's the other thing a lot of people, because I've had people say, well, you know, Greg, when you talk about that, you know, you're being selfish because you just care about the business. It's like, well, wait a minute. Let's think about that for a minute. This is the only source of income that these families have to provide for their family. And not only are they providing for their own family, they're providing for their employees, right? The employees work for them because they believe that that company is going to be able to pay them every 2 weeks so that they can provide for their families. You know, so it's an array of people that are being impacted. And so what I've been doing, to give you an idea of what am I doing across the state to help small businesses, right? I've identified 2 areas that I'm focusing on right now, and one is Las Animas County, and the other one is Huerfano County, okay? Because I wanted to see how they looked at the situations going on outside the urban corridor, okay? Because we know what the mindset of the urban corridor is. I mean, you just walk around, you can see it, okay? But these are the people in the urban corridor that don't know where their water comes from. I can tell you that if you live in the urban corridor and you ask someone, where does your water come from? They're going to tell you the faucet. They have no clue that their water comes from the snow melt up in the mountains. They have no clue that only 13% of our water comes out of the ground. Okay? And so if we don't have a good snowfall, we're not going to have a lot of water. Okay? The farmers, the ranchers, our reservoirs are all going to go down. You know, and so with that, that's why you see the urban corridors always doing these conservations of water and so forth. They have no idea. You go out to rural Colorado, they truly understand, you know, how everything's interacts. And so I met with one of the council members in Trinidad, and he said, Greg, what can we do? I said, well, here's what I would do. I said, if I was in your situation, I would introduce a resolution. And if you'd like, I'll write it for you. The resolution will say that we, the city of Trinidad, believe in the 14th Amendment, Section 1, where it says that states cannot pass laws that infringe on the rights of citizens without due process. And so I would write that up and I would give it to you, and it would say, we, the city of Trinidad, believe the governor has overstepped his boundaries, believe he's in violation of the Colorado Constitution, believe that the Department of Public Health and Environment are not elected officials and they cannot dictate to the community what it is that they can and can't do. These aren't laws. These are guidelines. These are nothing more than suggestions or recommendations. And because we believe so strongly in our small businesses and our Main Street, that we have determined that small businesses can self-determine whether they're going to open or not without any restrictions. And there will be no interference from the city of Trinidad or the county of Las Animas County. They can pass those resolutions all day long. Okay? What that does is send a statement to the entire community that they believe in their small business. Okay? Folks, when I was the director of SBA and I traveled the state, the first thing I would do is travel down Main Street. Here's why I would go down Main Street. I wanted to see how many vacant storefronts Main Street had. If they had more than 15% vacant storefronts, that community was in trouble. I didn't have to ask any questions. Okay? But if they were full, it gave you the situation that this community is thriving. Doesn't mean that it's in abundance, but it's thriving because the velocity of money is circulating within this community. Right? People are shopping, people are driving, people are spending their money within this community. That's really what you look at, not only as a mayor, but as a small business owner and other things. You look at the velocity of money within the economy and what's going on. And so I'm working with Walsenburg. The county commissioners approved this resolution. Okay? So I'm sharing it with other city officials and counties and say, you guys need to pass this. Now here's, I get a lot of questions. I've been in Colorado Springs, I've been asked to go to Pueblo, and I'll go anywhere to talk to people because it's important. When they say, hey, what about when Dora threatens to pull our license? Or the Department of Public Health? My response is, give it to them. Tell them to take it. And then have the county commissioners pass the ordinance that we're going to issue the license. Because you are doing business in the county. You just happen to be in the state. Okay? So the county commissioners have the full authority and the right to create their own licensing within the boundaries of the county. The cities have the same responsibility. Okay? And then we get into the discussion with Greg. We're statutory. We're not home rule. And I think they forget that I used to be a mayor because I understand the difference. Okay? If you're a home rule city or home rule county, basically what that means, you don't have to listen to any of the rules of the state because you're home rule. Okay? If you're statutory, what that means, you must follow the statutory rules of the state unless you make them more restrictive. So if you make them more restrictive, you can do whatever you want. So I tell county commissioners, hey, look at the license. If they say you got 10 days to renew it or we're going to terminate it, tell your people you got 9 days to renew it and then we'll terminate it. Just make it more restrictive, right? All it does is take courage and boldness from our elected officials to do this, okay? There are legal cases right now against the governor and the state because of what they're doing. And I'm going to tell you, all of these issues, these executive orders, they're not laws. There are not laws. They've never been laws. They try to present them as laws, but they're not laws, okay? Because here's the thing. We have 3 branches of government. We have the legislative branch. They're the ones that are responsible for making laws, okay? You have the executive branch. Well, the executive branch's role is to make sure that they're enforcing the laws and following the processes and providing the services from the funding that they get from the legislative branch. And then you have the judicial branch, which is your court system, right? And their role is to make sure that, we're not breaking the Colorado Constitution, we're treating everybody fairly, but the governor does not have the right to pass a law. Doesn't. Okay? Neither does the President of the United States. Because remember when President Obama was passing executive orders left and right? And what was the first thing President Trump said? I'm going to remove those executive orders on day 1. Which is true. Any new governor can walk in and say, these executive orders, they no longer apply. Don't do them. It's not a law. If it was a law, you couldn't do that. Okay? The other thing that really concerns me is that the governor is breaking the Colorado Constitution. Because he's not following the Constitution as it's written. He's the one that decided he was going to rewrite the election laws. Okay? And all of a sudden, you don't have to go door to door to get signatures for initiatives to put on the ballot. You could do it electronically. Okay? All of those except for one. You guys probably know which one he didn't allow. Right? Due date too late. Right? But we were still able to get into the ballot. Okay? So, getting back to small business, it's very important for every small business owner to make a decision on what they want to do. Folks, I can't tell a small business owner what to do and what not to do. But what I can tell them is, look, I've been in your shoes. I know what your margin is. I also know that based on these restrictions, you cannot be successful. You will not be successful. You may think you might be able to be successful for the next 3 months or 6 months, But when we've changed the mindset of the consumer, and we're going into, you have small windows, folks. You got to look at this at statewide, right? There are certain towns in Colorado that have small windows of tourism. And if they can't make that money in that small window, they're not going to be open for the following year. Right now, I'm going to tell you, the rafting companies, the outdoors companies, they're all hurting because no one is being able to utilize their services. Okay? If we don't open the ski resorts up in the fall, you watch what happens to the entire tourism industry, because skiing is one of the biggest industries for Colorado. I don't know if you know this, but they've shut down the entire performing arts complex. There are no symphonies. There are no operas. There are no plays. That's millions and millions of dollars that we've shut down for no reason. And here's why I say this. If you follow the data, okay, because remember, the governor always tells you I'm following the data. If you follow the data, there's a lot of holes in that data. I'll give you a perfect example. You notice the numbers never go down, right? The numbers always are going up. Now, the interesting thing to say is that we have X amount of cases in Colorado. They don't tell you whether they're active cases, right? Or they're just someone tested positive, but they're asymptomatic, right? Here's the one I find very interesting. Last Saturday I was looking at it. They said that there was 151 patients in the hospitals due to COVID-19. Yet, the ICU ventilators in use was 281. Now, how can you have 281 ventilators in use when you only have 151 patients in the hospital for COVID-19? Okay. I don't know that we'll ever find out that answer, but you got to follow the numbers and figure out what is going on here, right? And so, for me, is COVID-19 real? Yes, it is. Are people dying from it? I believe they are. Do I believe that we need to shut down the entire state? No, I do not. Okay? And so, when I look at it is, just last year, the last flu season, for the entire nation, okay, there was 32 million people that got the flu last year. Now, a lot of people don't know what the flu season is. I didn't know until I really started looking at it. It's from October 1 through March. It's 5 months. Okay? So in 5 months, 32 million people in the entire United States got the flu. 930 some odd were hospitalized. Okay? And about 40,000 died from the flu. Yet we never shut down our economy. You never heard anything about, hey, we got to have this social distancing, all these types of things. And these masks that they're asking us to wear, to me, that is nothing more than government control. Okay? They were talking about this, and this is a policy. Now listen to this one to talk to you about how irrational it is. They said a policy that entertainment can be done in small venues, small restaurants, if they have live performances. A 3-person band, or a 4-person band, but they must all be wearing masks. And so on TV, one of the trumpets say, how can I play my trumpet if I'm wearing a mask? There was no answer outside, you got to wear a mask. That's the rules, those are the guidelines, right? These guidelines don't make sense. And if you study the science, you will find out that these masks do not prevent anything. They don't. It's a false narrative. Yet too many people believe that they're saving the world or saving a life by wearing a mask. Now, I'm a firm believer in freedom and choice. If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. Okay? But do not make the rest of us wear masks. Those of us that truly understand that they're not making a difference. And it is wrong. It is so wrong for the governor of Colorado to tell restaurant owners that if you see someone out without wearing a mask, you should treat them like a drunk, like they're alcoholics, and do not serve them because they don't deserve to be in your facility. That is wrong. And I won't even go into one of his postings that he put into his account about how Coloradans know how to wear the mask correctly and how they don't need to wear it correctly. All I can tell you is that if you were to go down and see it, you'd be shocked to know that this is coming from the governor of Colorado. You know, so I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you might have. And, you know, again, a lot of people will ask me, Greg, what gives you the authority to speak so in depth about small business? And here's my reply. I'm the former director of the United States Small Business Administration. So I know exactly what's going on with small business in the state of Colorado. I'm a former mayor. I understand completely what it means to have small business on Main Street and small business thrive in our communities. Because think about it. Who sponsors the Little League teams? Who sponsors the festivals? Who pays for all the things that a community does when they bring a community together? It's not corporate America, okay? It is small business. The other thing is I'm the former president of the Denver Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, okay? So I understand the importance of business organizations and what they bring to the table. That's what I believe gives me the ability to talk about small business, and I'm a small business owner. I do it every day. I know what the numbers are. Numbers don't lie. If you have a bad day as a small business owner, you may not be able to make up that bad day, okay? And I'm going to tell you this. I'm a firm believer that if we were even to change everything today and say tomorrow there are no more restrictions, it's going to take 3 to 5 years for every small business to recover, even the economy to recover, to get back to where we were before March 10th. That's how bad we've done to Colorado. But you know what? I'm a firm believer that we will survive if we change this around. But if we don't, and I'm going to predict something, and I hope I'm wrong, because my prediction is that the governor is going to shut down Colorado again come this fall. But it's really going to be up to the small business owners to say, you're not shutting me down. You may say you're going to shut us down, but for us, we're staying open. Because he's pretty much asking you to put a bullet through your head in hopes of something that we never know is ever going to show up. You know? And so we got to make tough choices as to what needs to happen. And so, you know, even now people say, Greg, what would you have done different? I mean, if you were the governor, what would you have done different when all this first started? Here's what I would have done different. First of all, I would never react as quickly as he did. If there's one thing I've learned about being in these political positions, high-level positions, what you hear today is not necessarily what's going to happen tomorrow. You got to let it play out a little bit, okay, and see if the numbers are actually going to be what they say they're going to be. We're even hearing now that the models are flawed. We're hearing that they're double counting. We're hearing all kinds of things. So here's what I would have done. A lot of you are familiar with fire dangers, right? And there's 5 phases of these fire dangers, right? It's kind of like in the military, you have DEFCON, different levels of DEFCON. I would have, from the very beginning, slow down, stop, talk to my team, talk to my staff, talk to medical professionals, and said, okay, tell me what it's going to look like in the next 12 months. Worst case scenario. What's it going to look like in the next 12 months? Best case scenario, right? What happens if we don't do anything? And it doesn't, you know, it's kind of like the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And then I would have sent benchmarks. I would say, look, and I would have told the entire state, here's our plan. We're in phase 1. If we hit these numbers within a certain period of time, we're going to have to start looking at something totally different. Okay? So let's make sure we're not hitting these numbers, right? Phase 2. If we hit phase 2, we're going to start looking at what else can we do. Okay? But we're going to give everybody an opportunity to see how things are shifting. The other thing I never would have done, I never would have called a state of emergency, because what happens in Huerfano County is not what's going to happen in Boulder County. Okay? And that is why the President of the United States never called a national state of emergency, because he wanted every governor to be able to control their own state based on what they knew. Okay? And so you can't tell a small grocery store, a small business owner in La Junta, that what they're doing is going to create the same amount of disease or infection as what's going on in Denver or Boulder. Numbers just aren't there. Okay, but when you call a state of emergency, it's a blanket across the entire state, and you're not able to really distinguish between different counties and different communities. I think that was one of the worst mistakes that the governor ever did, and I think it was ill-advised. I think he panicked. I don't think he's ever dealt with this anything before. I don't think he's really understood the totality of his decisions, because he's never been in an executive position outside of this first office. Okay? When I was mayor of Parker, I was in charge of the entire town. When I was at SBA, I was involved with disaster relief. So all the floods, all the fires that were happening here in Colorado, I was part of that team that SBA was for recovery. Because a lot of people don't understand this. When there's a natural disaster, everybody understands about FEMA, right? We hear about FEMA. You don't hear about SBA. But what FEMA does, FEMA comes in and puts back all the facilities for public safety. Water lines, sewer lines, electrical lines, making sure the streets are ready to go and so forth. Once they're able to determine that the community is safe again, SBA comes in. SBA gives loans to rebuild the community. Okay? Why? Because they've been out of business, right? Nonprofits, banks, small business owners, SBA gives direct loans to those, and that's why the PPP is the SBA, right? Because it comes from the federal government. And so this is how SBA gets involved in all of these natural disasters. So I've been there. I've been in the front lines. I did it with the floods. I did it with the fires. One of the things you never do is overreact. You kind of take it slow to make sure that things are evolving in the direction that they're telling you, because you never know what the future is going to bring. But once you go down a certain path, it's very important that you understand where you're going. And here's the other thing I tell you. I firmly believe in watching Governor Polis and studying his character and studying his personality. He will never, ever admit that he made a mistake. That is not in his DNA. He will never step forward and say, you know what, guys, I think I went down the wrong path. I think I'm going to go do something different, because the numbers aren't there. He's not going to say that. I hope I'm wrong, because you know what? I'd be happy to be wrong. But studying his character and studying his personality, I don't think he has it in him. So I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you guys have about anything. Sir?
Could you kind of address oil and gas in the state of Colorado, please?
Sure.
Briefly.
Again, oil and gas is, from my perspective, this is a property right. Okay? A lot of people don't understand that most times when you buy property, you buy the surface rights, but you don't buy the undergrounding rights, the mineral rights, right? And so if someone is trying to use their property, they have a right to use it. The state needs to stay out of the involvement of people using their property rights. Now, here's the thing. If you remember all this, I think it was the incident that happened in Firestone, the explosion, right? This is what started this whole process down this path, right? If I recall correctly, it was a faulty water heater that they were trying to put in. There was a leak, okay? So there was an explosion, but when they did the analysis, they realized there were a couple of well heads that needed to be reshored up, okay? And they did, but when you look at the totality of the system and you look at everything that the state is doing, it wasn't something at a level of high safety issues, right? I think it got addressed. I think people started realizing that, wait a minute, when Well County starts building more and more wells, and a lot of people don't understand, Colorado is not only providing oil and gas for our region, but for a lot of the rest of the country, and this is property that they've paid for, and so I don't know that any of us would appreciate if we build a house and all of a sudden, the government came in and said, you know what, you built a house of 13 square feet, 1,300, but we need you to shut down half of it because we believe you're using way too much electricity, okay? And so that doesn't work for me. I think it's time to, oil and gas is pretty much gone from Colorado. It's been erased, okay? It's going to take a while to get them back into here and have confidence that it's not going to be turned away again, okay? And so I'm a strong advocate in support of oil and gas. I hope that they do come back. I think it's one of those things where, at the end of the day, is there room for wind and solar? Yeah, I think there's some room for it. I don't think there's a solution. I don't think that they're going to change the way we live because, you know, once again, here in Colorado, you know, we have a cloudy day or a snowy day. I don't know how much sun we're going to be able to get to generate all the electricity. But I'm open to discussion. But for me, fossil fuels and oil and gas is an integral part of our economy.
So if I own a piece of property in Boulder County and I own the oil and gas interest under that property, and Boulder County has a moratorium that says the driller can't come onto my property and drill, should I be able to sue Boulder County for the loss of income that I would have gained if the driller had drilled on my properties?
I would say yes. Okay, because that is a takings.
Yes.
They're taking your property.
They took
Yeah.
my oil and gas away from me and do not allow me to gain that
Exactly.
income.
Right. Now, if they want to do it correctly, they could have come to you and said, you know what, we'll write you the check.
Right.
Okay? We'll write you the check. Whatever they're going to write, we'll write it for you. Just please don't let them on the property. I think you would have said, you know what, that's probably a fair deal. You know, I will at least entertain that. Okay? And that's what happens with government now. You know, if you're going to condemn property, think about that, right? If the state decides we need your land because we want to build a highway here and you don't want to sell it, they have to pay you for it,
Exactly.
right? So if they're going to take your property away where you can't use it, why aren't they paying you for it,
Exactly.
right? And I'll never be the smartest man in the room, but you know what? I have a lot of common sense. And if it works good one way, it should work good the other way,
Right.
right? And so I tell a lot of people, you know, I was born at night, but I wasn't born last night. So, you know, so yes.
Thank you.
So related to that, are there statistics on the loss of income to property owners and people with royalty rights as a result of what Boulder County has done, the moratorium? Because it's much more than just a bonus consideration to pay a landowner for an oil and gas company to come in and drill the wells, but there's that ongoing royalties that these farmers and ranchers and individual property owners, and not only that, their heirs have depended on, because that was their right, it was their land.
I'm sure there are. You know, I mean, if
the
you
loss is significant.
It is. It's beyond imaginable, right? And it's only because you have a couple of people that either don't like the odor, don't like the sight of it. You know, most importantly, what I've learned is that oftentimes people buy land or a house, not recognizing the property around them and what is the rights of their neighbors, right? They believe, hey, I bought a house, I should be able to live in my house, and that farmer over there, if I smell his cow's manure, that's a problem. Well, no, it's not. Okay? You just have to choose where you're at. But yes, the damage and the harm that's been done to this state, I don't think we can truly measure, but I can tell you this, it is huge. It is huge.
Multi-millions.
It's generational.
Colorado Oil
It's
and Gas
generational.
Administration here in Colorado is one of the highest regulated
Yep.
entities in the
And it's
entire
impacting the
United
schools.
States.
It's impacting a lot of different services because of the fees that they were paying for drilling. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to ask another question about the restaurant issue.
Sure.
So there's a really good strategy that you have identified for a county and a city to go up against
Mm-hmm.
the state. Now in Boulder County, we don't have that luxury.
Okay.
We have a health department that is more stringent than the state.
Right.
And in the city of Boulder, they're not going to go up against them.
Right.
Okay, and the county commissioners, I sat in a couple of meetings with the health department. The county commissioners weren't even there.
Right.
It was Ehuden and Steve Finberg and Casey Becker. So that's the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
In Boulder, all of the leadership of the state government lives in Boulder.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the opposition. If restaurant owners decided, I'm gonna stay, I'm gonna go wide open, they're gonna take my license away. What's the recourse for them under those circumstances? Where can they go? Is it just, is it really basically suing the city, suing the county? You know, just, it becomes a legal issue where they'd have to band together, get a lawyer,
Right.
and go up against it.
Right.
So,
And let me tell you, look, there's going to be, just like in any, we're in a fight for our country. We're in a war. Okay?
Yep.
There's going to be casualties, right? There are people that are going to lose their livelihoods. There are people that are going to lose their businesses for the betterment of the whole. Okay? I tell people, you know, our founding fathers, and a lot of people forget this, some of them were very wealthy. Some of them had businesses. When they signed the Declaration of Independence, they became traitors. Okay? They lost everything. Okay? Some lost their families, literally got killed. They ended up poor or homeless, but they fought for our principles and our liberties. I believe it's time for some of us to do the same thing. Okay? We have to stand tall for that. Let me tell you what happened in Douglas County. Okay? Because I got a call and they say, hey Greg, there's some business owners, they want to talk, we want to open, what can you tell us? So we got together similar like this, except there was probably 30 to 35. Okay? And we didn't tell them what to do. We told them, look, if you really want to make this be successful, you all have to open it the same day at the same time and don't look back. Okay? They decided they were going to open that Friday. Over 100 businesses opened. Okay? The Department of Public Health, Tri-County Health, got wind that they were going to open. Because they'd been delaying the variance of Douglas County, and they knew they couldn't shut down 100 small businesses in one given day, specifically on a Friday, because they weren't going to be working on a Friday, right? They decided they were going to give the variance. Okay? And I'm going to tell you today, those 100 small business owners, they're open. And I think the jury's out of whether they're following the guidelines or restrictions that the Tri-County Health wants them to follow. Okay? Because I've been in there. I've been there. And they're open. So I'm going to tell you this, right? Just like these riots, just like these mass demonstrations, if there was only 10 of them, you know, they could be controlled, right? But if small businesses got together and said 50 of us, then they were going to have to think twice about what they're doing because they recognize these guidelines are not laws, okay? They don't want to go to court. What we've done down in Douglas County, and this is true for also in Rifle, in Castle Rock, there's a group that has started a fundraising to help these small businesses with these lawsuits. None of these business owners have spent a dime on these lawsuits, okay? Because others are saying, you know what, I'm going to help pay to fight for our rights and our freedoms, okay? But we got to have people to stand up and say, you know what, I'll be part of that lawsuit. I'll be ones that file it, you know. Think about the courage that it took for the cake maker. Mm-hmm. He stood tall all the way to the Supreme Court, and he won. Okay? We got to do that too. Because think about it. If we don't, we might as well kiss all small businesses goodbye. And here's the other thing, and they don't want to talk about this, but I'm talking about it. The minority community is the one that's the most impacted because they're the ones that truly rely on small business, either whether they're restaurants, you know, drywallers, whatever it may be. This is how they show their family. This is how, if you don't get an education, you can still make a good living. You can still live the American dream because you're a small business owner. You take that away from them and they can't afford to go to college, what's left? You're asking them to wait for the check to come through the mail. And that is just wrong. Yeah. Any other questions? So here's the thing. Folks, I'm going to tell you this. In closing, it is important for all of us to remember that we have freedoms and we have liberties. But we only have the freedom that we're willing to fight for. If we're not willing to fight for our freedom, then we're not going to have it. Okay? Is it going to hurt? Probably. Is it going to be scary? You bet. You know, are you going to be alone? I don't think so. You know, but in order for us to change the course of where we're going now, because we know what it looks like, you know, you look 30 days down the road with the conditions that we're in right now, and it's just going to get worse. You know it. Okay? So we got to change it. You know, but it's going to take bold action, courageous action, not only from small business owners, from everyone. Even for, I don't go anywhere that requires me to wear a mask. I refuse to do it. You know what? If they tell me I need to wear it, say thank you very much, I'll go somewhere else. Okay? But I am not going to be a hypocrite and wear something just to appease others. Okay? And at the same time, we got to make sure that we enjoy our families. The 4th of July is coming. What is the governor telling us to do? Don't celebrate it. You know, stay at home. You know, and it is so wrong for anyone to accuse someone of killing someone because they're spending time with their family. It's just wrong. Okay, so let's band together. Let's stay true. Let's get back the Senate. We got to get the Senate back here in Colorado. And I don't care what party you are, but if you believe in good debate, if you believe in good laws, then you need to have the houses debate and negotiate to something for the governor to sign that they truly believe is in the best interest of the state. Folks, if we don't win back the Senate, we got another 2 years of constant decisions from one side. Okay? And that is not good government. I don't care who it is. I would be saying the same thing if it was Republicans. We gotta have good government. We gotta have debate. Okay? And we gotta make sure that we're doing the right thing for the whole. So, you know, I tell people it's about all of us, not just some of us. But know this, I'm not going anywhere. And I want Governor Polis that Greg Lopez is going to challenge you in 2022, and I'm going to win, and we're going to make you a one-term governor because you are not the governor that Colorado was asking for or needs. And we do not want to be California. You want to make us California? I think it'd be good if you moved to California.